Hi guys, and hi Clive, and welcome to Growth Entrepreneurs Journey. This is a podcast we've started recently. It's about sharing people's journeys in businesses. Being from the community, you're from the same community, and you obviously run SCP Security, the CEO of SCP Security. I had to share your journey, on our platform because what you guys have done for our area and stuff like that has been amazing.
Thank you.
So, Clive, welcome to the podcast. Just give us a background on you in SCP and how it all began.
Okay, perfect. Thanks very much for having me. I appreciate the time you've taken and for giving me the opportunity for this interview. So, my background a little bit. I've always been involved in safety and security. It's been my passion for many, many years. I joined the police in 1998 at Fairlands Police Station. And I then transferred from Fairlands in 2006. I transferred to Rapid Response, which is the Joburg Flying Squad, and I was there till 2014. So my passion lies behind the security industry, the policing industry, the EMS service industry. It's something that I've gained a lot of knowledge on. I've built a lot of relationships from being in the police, and it's added a lot of value to my life to the point where in 2014 I decided, right, I'm going to leave the police and I'm now going to start a security business. So SCP was kind of born out of a small community project that had been going for quite some time in the Greymont area, and the business was almost at the end of its life, and I saw an opportunity in 2015, and I said, right, I want to take this business over and I want to take it to the next level, which was gladly received. And so I did. Got involved. At the time I got involved, we had 2 cars and I think about 14 members. It was still the old Mazda 323 midges. And although they weren't fancy cars and we only had a small amount of staff, I felt that I had the recipe to make this into something big and to add a lot of value into the area. So I bought my house in Roosevelt Park in 2006. So obviously Roosevelt Park didn't have a proper security company looking after it at the time, and that was my first project, to get the Roosevelt Park community on board with a dedicated security company that can have a vehicle in the area and work and build a model where each area we chose to go into from Greymont, we had dedicated resources, and that was one of the keys to making a success in the area and reducing crime. 2015, I then it came down to time to make an investment, and I had to go and beg, borrow, and find funds, and go to the bank and sign surety and put my house on surety and the cars on surety and everything to get a loan from Standard Bank, where they would loan me an amount of money that I could procure the right cars, the right brand cars, brand them, put lights on them, and then start employing the staff to run them in the areas. But I had to be very careful, because buying all these cars and having all the equipment was great, but there was a monthly payment to be made on those cars, and I then had to have the clients to support that in terms of an income, so I could get a clawback and generate revenue. I'm not going to lie, the job that I thought was a fun job on a Monday to Friday, it is fun, but it became a Monday to Sunday, 24 hours a day. So my relationship and my success in the community has been building one-on-one relationships with each of the residents, which each of the business owners, relying on those relationships to assist me in areas of my business. For instance, if one of my cars were crashed, who would I go to have them fixed at the panel beater? Yes, we're insured, but I needed someone who I could trust, phone up and say, listen, take the car, get it fixed for me, push it out within 2 days, because we had to have it back on the road, because it was lost revenue the longer it was in the garage. So I built a lot of relationships with key people in the community as well, who have most definitely added to my success. Within a very short space of time, around about 2019, 2020, we built quite a big business, and we had expanded into quite a few areas around our base point. So if we take Northcliffe Tower as a central point, all the surrounding suburbs, sort of up to 2, we have now moved into the likes of Emmarentia, Linden, Northcliffe, Fairlands, Berario, Velterfreden Park, Blairgowrie, Montgomery, Greymont, Albertsville, Albertskroon, Westdean, Sophiatown, all those sort of areas. And of course, as you move into those areas, so you have to have resources to service those areas, because customers are paying for a service, they expect to get the service, and they expect to see the cars. Two of the things I'm very passionate about our brand. And when I say our brand, how our vehicles look, how they're branded, kept in tip-top condition. I'm very passionate about my staff. I'm very proud of them, because they always look smart, the uniforms are clean, they're properly dressed, they've got equipment, and they can do the job. So in the last couple of years, and since I've been involved in the security industry and the areas in which we operate on a geographical map, I'm quite proud to say we've reduced crime a lot in the areas in which we operate compared to what they were. I can't say that I'm 100% responsible for that success, because there's a lot of companies that work in the industry with me, but we've definitely added value. We've created competition, we've created good competition, because the security companies are always trying to make sure that their areas are the best looked after. And it's been a journey that I'm very thankful for, and it's a journey that I'm excited about. I wake up every morning, I look forward to going to work, and they say if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. It's true, except I work 7 days a week. So people like to phone me personally, and I've built that relationship with them. So when there's a problem, they don't phone the office, they phone me. And I like that, because it gives me that relationship with that customer, and it's a bond for life.
No, your journey has clearly been something of a great success. You like from how you say you started. You touched on a point of financing your business, and at that point when you started and you decided, now I'm taking this step in retiring, or taking the new step in my journey. How was that thought process behind going into the security company, the security industry, in the funding behind how you went about getting there? It's obviously it's not funding is something you got to have a good plan in place. Otherwise, whether it's private investment, whether it's the bank, whether it's this podcast is also trying to help people to can't just say I have an idea, I'm gonna go get some funding. You have to have certain bases covered before you can get to that point. And how was your thought process behind it, if you don't mind sharing?
So it was very scary. It was a point in my life where I don't want to say make or break, but it was a big deciding factor in my life, whether this was going to be a huge success and it was going to work, or if it failed, I'm going to be indebted to the bank for the rest of my life. So there were a lot of choices that I had to make, and I had to make those choices on a very calculated base. And I wouldn't say all those choices were calculated. There were some risks that I did take, risks that I thought, if I don't do it, I'll never know.
No, I think there's risk in any business. It doesn't matter. You can have a foolproof plan. Market change. COVID is a brilliant example of you could have a brilliant plan, and a month later you were sitting in a lockdown.
Exactly.
You could have changed the whole, your plan that you had and what happened. The risk is always there. But
Absolutely.
taking the risk is also a journey in itself.
It is definitely a journey in itself. The risk was daunting and exciting at the same time, because daunting in that I had to go to the bank. I had to put my case forward to the bank and say, listen, I have a vision. I need 8 cars now. And I need those cars to be functioning as armed response cars, because, these are the areas I'm looking at going into. These are my potential clients that I'm going to bring in. This is my cost per month. And I foresee a beneficial revenue coming out of it that can service both the debt to the bank and produce a profit for the business. So the bank they were very for my plan, and they were very supportive of the plan, but they wanted some security. It's not like the old days where you could just go borrow from the bank and they give you money. No, they wanted surety on my house. They wanted surety on me personally. So there was a lot of money that I had to put forward in terms of a surety to the bank before they would grant me the credit facility. In a very short space of time, after they did grant me the facility initially, there was almost an instant return. And I think that instant return comes from me saying, well, I'm not going to let this fail. I can't afford to have this fail. So if I have to work 7 days a week, well, then so be it. I have to work 7 days a week.
That's the point I wanted to touch on. I think, do you think that by putting a house on surety, I'm not saying people should do that, it's a very risky thing to do, putting a surety as yourself as well. But by not having the plan B, do you think it drove you harder than what you anticipated or what you thought you were going to put in?
Definitely. So the plan B, when I say plan B, if it failed, would have been that I would have to go and apply for a job and I'd have to work for someone for the rest of my life. And I've never been someone that conforms to a desk job. I've never been that collar and tie kind of guy. I'm not a doctor or a chartered accountant or a profession like that or a lawyer or something like that. So I had to make do with what I had and what I could do and work around who I am as a person. And I'm not someone that takes risks. So I'm very cautious on what I take in a risk and what I don't take on. So this for me was big because it was the biggest risk I've taken my entire life. And everyone says, yeah, take the risk. You'll never know if you don't do it. And you've got to take risks in life and you've got to do things. But sometimes those risks don't work out. And I think, it's a huge possibility. But I think the drive that I had in me was that there was no option for failure. It's going to work. And I think as soon as I got my mind into that vision of there is no option of failure, this is going to work. And I mean, I was going door to door, knocking on people's doors. I was using my relationships with the clients that I built. Hey, can you give me a referral? Hey, who's your friend using? How can I build this? Hey, your business. Who's looking after your business? I want to do it for you. And I think that became a rolling snowball that got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it turned out in a very positive light for me.
Touching on that point, I remember personally, because I'm in the area and stuff, when we first moved into the area and you guys started SCP, it was a very community-driven project. SCP is a security company. It took the community into a large part of its success. That's personally what I see from outside. I don't know if that played into your plan initially, but you went door to door yourself. And I remember this sitting in our house, asking us, telling us this is what you want to do, this is what you want to do for the area and stuff. And that's how you obviously build your client base by having that personal touch. Today, do you still do that, or has it now come to the point where word of mouth is your stronger advertising tool?
No. So in today, it's still like that. I have a team behind me as well. I've got a fully fledged sales team. So we've got 8 salespeople that work for me. I've got now departments we've set up. So we've got an HR department, we've got an accounting department, we've got marketing, we've got sales. So it makes it a lot easier for me. But there's still that drive in me where I still like to compete with the sales guys. So we've got a little group and we're all on that group and they do their thing. And I'm at the office doing, office work and admin work and operational planning and that. But I also go out every now and again, go knock on a door, go and speak to the client, bring him on board. I mean, it's something that I don't think I'll ever stop doing. If you're not a doctor, a lawyer, or a CA, as I said, or something like that, your next option is you better be a good salesman if you want to work for yourself. And that's a fact. And it's people look at sales and they think, you have to be a salesman. I'm not a salesman, or a salesman. I look down on that job. Don't ever look down on that job, because it's not about sales. It's about relationship building. And if you're good in communicating with people and you're a likable person and you're an honest person, you've got integrity, and what you say to people you do and you show them, that relationship is formed immediately, and the sale then becomes a natural progression of that relationship. It's not a case of I'm selling pencils today, or I'm selling fruit, or it's a natural progression of building that relationship with the client, where the client starts to trust you because you're an honest, straightforward person. You're known in the community, and the more you're known, the easier it gets. So for me, it's not about sales. It's about building relationships every day. And I call that, I've got a little acronym for it. I call it an IPA. So what that stands for is an income producing activity, not a sales.
It's a good way of looking at it, an IPA.
Yes, I call it an IPA. When we talk in our sales team and that, we talk about IPA. So every day I look at doing 3, no matter what I'm doing, just for me personally, whatever I've got to do in the day, I always do 3 IPAs before I go home. And it can be a mix of anything.
You is running SCP and you are the CEO of SCP. It's not something you have to do, but you still choose to do it.
Yes.
Why do you think you still choose to do it?
That's a very easy answer.
Is it to show your staff that you know every aspect of this is still important to me, or is it just a drive in you that you still, the part of the job that you still enjoyed when you started?
So I've got a huge weight on my shoulders, which I've created for myself. And that weight is each of my clients, and I can tell you offhand, we've got about 8,000 clients. Of those 8,000 clients, I can tell you without a doubt, 7,000 of them I know personally, or they've got my cell phone number. And I've created my own weight on my shoulders because those people have joined me because of what I've promised them. And I haven't just promised them a groceries or an apple or a pencil or something like that. I've promised them safety and security for them and their families. So I have something to live up to. And the reason why I still do what I do today is because A, it's my business. B, I don't want to see this business fail. And C, if I take my finger off the pulse, I've got good staff, don't get me wrong. I've got very good staff and very capable of doing the job. But they haven't had the blood, sweat and tears that I've been through to get where I am today in terms of making sure that things are done the way I like it. So I'm an OCD person. Like if I've got 100 emails in my email box, I don't go home until those 100 are done. They've got to be done before I go home. So I like things done, scheduled and on a time.
No, that's a good way to. You have a plan for your day and you know what needs to be done.
Yes.
And I've sitting with you and I've sat with a lot of other people in this journey of mine, and I've realized that they all have a plan. They have a routine, they have a plan, and they follow their plan, and that's how they have success in what they do. Because without a plan, your day is wasted time.
Correct.
So you have gaps in between, and for them, any successful person I've sat down that has built businesses, whether they're still building a business, there's no time for gaps in your day.
No.
So if you plan your day, you know what you need to do, and you get your stuff done. You have a routine, and it's consistency. The point is consistency. Consistency grows. Another thing, SCP is no more just a security company. I mean, I went on your guys' website and I've seen the services of people do PRT protection. You guys have brought in a fire brigade as well. I think you guys are into ER24 in terms of emergencies and stuff like that. Growing your business how did you choose to, at what point did you choose, okay, I'm going into this, I'm going into that? How do you make those decisions, or at what point do you see now is the time for me to expand into this? I mean, you could never have started with all of it in one. It came over time, and I think a lot of it comes from the fact that you built relationships with people, and in any business, relationships are important. Nobody can tell me what. You can have the best business idea.
Correct.
If you don't have the right relationships with the right people, you'll never grow that idea into something that can be, something that's successful on a large scale. And another thing we like to touch on is community and building community. And your business was entirely built on the principle of community. The community, your relationship that you built with the people when you met them, allow them to join on, and you still kept that relationship. Like you say, you have over 8,000 houses that you cover, or businesses, properties. And out of them, 7,000 probably gave you a number, and you have direct access to you. It's built on relationship between those clients. And they still clients of yours still today.
Correct.
Because of the relationship that you've built with them.
Yes.
So building community in business is something that we feel is important, no matter what industry or where you are, and having the right context to do that. But back to the question of when did you make the decision, okay, SCP is a security company in household security has been fairly stable and fairly successful. I'm branching off into, say, supplying emergency medical services to my clients. How's that journey and how's that decision making process for you?
Okay, so I'm somebody that I've always got a vision, and my vision is bettering myself every day. And when I say bettering myself every day, I'm continually thinking of new avenues to move into where it can benefit my client, benefit the community. And as we slowly started growing this business, came the need for, your client had a fall, or your client had a heart attack and needed medical response, or there was a fire, and your client had an accident on the road. And with those relationships that I'd built, those clients started phoning me. Hey, Clive, I've got a problem. I've fallen. I've broken my knee. I'm in a lot of pain. I need an ambulance. And those were the type of calls that prompted me to think a little bit out of the box and to say, all right, do we have a need for this? Can we withstand the cost of this? Can we generate a revenue stream for this business? Or, how can we work this model to be part of security as an overall encompassed service offering to the community? And you touched on it briefly as well with, knowing your community, knowing the people in it, and building those relationships. If I go to an area today, let's take Douglasdale as an instance. If you went into Douglasdale, or you went into Sandton, or you went into Bryanston, wherever it might be, I'm willing to bet that 90% of the houses in that area don't know their neighbors. They don't know their neighbors. And one of the big driving factors of this success in this business was getting your areas or your communities to know your neighbor. In this area today, everybody knows everybody here. You can walk around Roosevelt Park or Montgomery Park and everybody knows everybody. And that's been born out of security as a whole, the need for the community getting involved with doing patrols, communicating with us, working together. If there's a problem, we resolve it together. And it's brought the community together. I could walk into Montgomery with you now and I'll tell you who lives at that house, and I've got their numbers on my phone. And that's what's really awesome about being an entrepreneur and taking the risk and going to the next level. But with visions, they always cost money. And I always joke with my wife because I say, I have these great ideas when I'm in the shower in the morning. I have time, it's my thinking time.
Most people have some great ideas.
and I sit in the shower and I spend 20 minutes in the shower and I have great ideas come up in my head. And I role play those ideas and I take it back to my team and I sit around the table with my commanders and I say, guys, what do you think about this? Do you think this will work? Do you think this will, how can we put this into the community? How do you think we can sell this? How do you think we can grow this? And we get feedback and we throw ideas around and we do a brainstorming session for like a month if it takes a month. And then we decide whether we're going to do it or not. So we've had a lot of cuck ideas, but we've had a lot of good ideas. And the good ideas has been the likes of building up important relationships with the EMS providers like Netcare 911 and ER24. We've got them on WhatsApp groups. Always first to respond, always there to help us. Awesome response from them all. And over the last 2-3 years, after actually we spoke about a fire engine before COVID, and it was always something that we wanted to add into our offering. And that's because of, over the years, I've been to many house fires. I've seen people's houses burned to the ground where the families are left destitute. I've seen people's houses burned to the ground where they didn't manage to get the dogs out the house and the dogs burnt in the fire as well. I've seen accidents with people coming home from holiday, people coming home from nights out on the town, accidents where children are involved and, we can't get them out the car or, and we're waiting on City of Joburg and we're waiting on state services to come and they just don't come quick enough. And the funny thing is when there's a need for a service like a fire brigade or something like that, that even if they take 10 minutes to get there, that 10 minutes feels like 2 hours. So we spoke to our clients and we said, guys, if we were to bring in a fire engine, would this be something that you would buy into? Is it something that you would receive well? Could we do that for your business or for your home, whatever it might be. And 100% of the response was positive. So we procured a fire engine 5 months ago, and we sent it off to be refurbished and resprayed and rekitted and serviced, and the pumps redone and all the rest. And we've launched it last week, and it's been received phenomenally well. I mean, I've had Carte Blanche phone me, I've had the Citizen phone me, I've had Northcote Melbourne Times phone me. They all want to know, like, what's the hype around this engine. So, it's something really, really cool to chat about.
So I should be honored to sit here with you if all the guys are after you. Eh? All the main newspapers are after you. You're sitting here with me. I appreciate your time.
No, absolutely. So it's something that we've added now into our division. We're keeping it as a separate division altogether. It's run by a proper fire crew. We've got experienced guys, ex-Joburg firefighter and his crew, who worked for the city for 25 years. He retired a few years ago, and he's still got a lot in him. He's actually a client of mine, by the way. And he said, right, I'll be your fire chief. I'm going to run it for you. He says, I've got all the accreditation. I've got all the licenses. I've got all the know-how. My guys have also got it, and we'll run this engine for you. So we can get to a fire anywhere in our geographical map area within 4 to 5 minutes. And that makes a big difference when we're arriving there and, we're spraying water. We're not saying that we want to be the new fire service of Joburg. No, not at all. We'd love all the help we can get when it comes to a fire, because it doesn't matter if it's my client or it's not my client, or if it's someone who's not, who's a friend of mine or not a friend of mine. At the end of the day, we're there to put out a fire. So if we get City of Joburg, private fire, us, whoever, I don't mind, as long as we put out a fire and we add value.
No, that's the fire engine that you guys have launched on your guys' platform. It's something. I think it's a great step in your guys' journey of building your business and stuff like that. And your business looks after the community. So I think it's a fairly fulfilling business. As much as you put in the hours and stuff like that, your community receives you back in a good way. And I think it drives you in your business to grow. But you said you started off with 2 cars and stuff. Now you cover over 8,000 houses, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Your staff complement obviously grew over time. And I like how you speak about your, when you have an idea, or when you need to do something, or even like your staff, they groom well, they always need you. You can spot the SCP guy and the SCP employee anyway.
Yeah.
If you in the area and And one thing about it, I'll give it to you. They'll greet you, they'll talk to you, they friendly.
Yes.
How do you build a staff complement of that scale in your industry, or in any industry for that matter, that represents what you want? You find I'm sure you get the odd stuff in between that wasn't completely fulfilling what you guys wanted.
Yeah.
But as a general rule, you build a staff complement that represents SCP the way you want SCP to be represented. What was your idea and process of finding the right people involved in it?
So in the beginning, it was a lot of hit and miss. You get some really good guys out there, and you get some really below average guys out there. But luckily, with the security industry, it's a very, very regulated industry, and I mean, we've got so many mandatory bodies that we have to comply with, that if you get a guy that is properly registered and he is and he's getting all his allowances and he belongs to all the required boards that we need to register with and pay on his behalf, you're generally getting a guy that is, how can I say, he's more, he wants the job more than going somewhere else, because he knows we're looking after him the way he should be looked after. He's being paid well, and he's not going to get that at any other company. So we drove a model where we pay our guys more than other security companies. We ensure that they're looked after. They all get provident fund. They all get their medical aids paid. They all get their allowances. They all get the bargaining councils paid, fees paid. They all get their zero licenses paid. And they're going home with a salary that's a livable salary. So the guys know that, if they mess up the job with us, going to another security company, they're not going to get what we're giving them. And that's retained a good bloodline in terms of our staff complement. I do rely heavily on my shift commanders. I've got 6 shift commanders, and all 6 of those guys have been with me pretty much from the beginning. and I do rely on them to pick and choose who they select and want to join the business, because they've got quite a good eye for it and they know the industry well. So between myself and those 6 guys, we put our heads together and we recruit 5 or 10 guys, and out of those 5 or 10 we select 2. And those 2 that we select, now after we've had a few hit and misses, we normally spot on.
No, but the key thing you highlighted is looking after your staff. A lot of businesses, and I had this discussion in our previous interviews as well, people treat staff as something that's dispensable. They're here, they go. But looking after your staff, they don't realize that looking after your staff is a very important part of your business, because your staff are your business. If you can't be there all the time to do everything. There was a time where you had to do it. Now you've outsourced it to different people and they do the job for you. By looking after your staff, they have the drive and will to push what you need them to do, and may even go beyond that at some points.
Correct.
And you look after it. I'm saying you reward in terms of money, but you look after it in a general sense, not just from a money point of view. I think is a whole. If they have a problem, whatever it is, you are there to help them where you can.
Correct.
And building a good staff complement is a key part of your business.
Correct.
I would, because you cannot be at every house, you cannot be at every industry. So looking after your staff, that point of highlighting looking after your staff is, I think people don't highlight it enough.
You're right, they don't highlight it enough, and as you rightfully said, a lot of companies just employ staff for being staff. I don't have that luxury to do that in the security industry, because the staff that I employ are the staff that I need to be able to trust and that I need to know that are loyal to me. And that's why when I talk about my staff complement, I always talk about, you guys are part of my family. You work for me, you're part of my family. You're not someone that just comes to get a salary and go home. And I always tell the guys, I've even got a sign on my door. You get 2 types of people. People that come to a job and people that come to work. If you came to a job, you're at the wrong place. Here you've come to work. And we've come to work towards a common goal that is beneficial to the business. And a lot of the guys have got that mindset. And I keep saying it and repeat it, and it's embedded in their brains. And the staff that I've got, I can say with my hand on my heart, I trust them implicitly. And I mean, it's not like I've got a security business and I'm looking after areas and they don't look after my house. I live in the community, they look after my house, they come onto my property, and I trust them, so I trust them with you as well.
No. Another thing you touched on when you started your business, and you taught it was, just the business. I work, my hours, and then go, and then you realize when you got into it, there's a whole lot more that comes with it. It's like, I think even buying a house, you buy a house, and then you're like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. You don't realize what else comes with it. And a lot of people, especially when you're starting, you don't fully understand it. You're like, okay, I have a business, I have an idea, I'm doing something. But when you evaluate the cost and the time it takes, a lot of people say, hey, you've got your own business. Yeah, you're a lucky guy. You can do what you want. It's not you can do what you want. I mean, yeah, there is some benefits here and there, You don't have to ask a boss if you need to leave. But if you leave, there's a lot of stuff that gets left behind because you're not there to do it. And it also comes to a work-life balance. I don't think there's anything as a set rule for work-life balance. But it also, when you have a family and you have a business, and especially when you're building a business, you have 2 sides that you need to take care of. How was balancing that for you? Look, I'm not saying it's 50-50 or whatever it is. It can take a toll on the relationships you have, but it can also take a toll on your business if you take one over the other. So I know it's a very fine balance. I don't think anybody gets it right, and it's something you need to know. You're never going to get it right 100%. Yeah. But how did you? I'm sure initially it was a bit tough, but over time, I'm sure you've built a balance in your family came to understand it. This is how certain things just have to work.
You're spot on. So, luckily, I've got a very patient wife and a very understanding wife, because even today, the family says, listen, we need to go on a holiday together, but it's got to be a family holiday, and I've got to switch off, because my wife says, you never switch off. You're going 7 days a week. You're going all night. You're not having a break. You're burning yourself out. And I say, yes, we will. But it never actually works out like that. Even when I go on holiday, if I go down to the Cape, or I go down to Durban, or I go wherever, it doesn't matter where I am. As soon as I got Wi-Fi, I'm on the groups checking what's happening. Was this done? Have you done this? Have you done that? And I'm talking to the guys, and if there's a problem with a client, I'm phoning the client and I'm sorting it out. And it's something that unfortunately I can't get away from. My work is my work, and it unfortunately is part of my home life as well. And it's not always a good balance. But I think my wife realizes and my kids realize that what I'm doing for them. I'm not doing it for me. At the end of the day, we all have an expiry date. And, when I'm gone and I'm not there anymore, I'm hoping that there's enough base being built that my children and their children can continue the business and grow it and keep it going.
Talking about work-life balance and stuff, I heard something that helped me manage my time better in a lot of what we do. The saying goes, as a wife, you have the luxury of the quantity of time with your children. As a father, you have the luxury of the quality of time with your family. So you may not always be there, but when you're there, you're there.
Correct.
And your children, maybe as they grow older, they truly understand and appreciate that more than just giving into, a year or either way, because you can go either way. You can give into your family and then your business suffers, or you give into your business too much and then your family suffers. But anybody who runs a business, you're working all the time.
Yeah.
Whether you're on holiday or not, you still checking. You will wake up in the morning, you check what you need to. You may go out, come back, but if you got a time in between, you're gonna check. Anybody that runs a business.
That's exactly how it is.
Any entrepreneur, business owner, whatever it is, if you're doing something that operates for you, it's always on your mind.
Yeah.
But I think that saying put a lot of perspective for me, is that I know I may not always be there, but when I'm there, I'm there.
Yeah.
And your children, over time, you realize, appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
Because they understand it. I know Dad is not here today, or my husband is not here right now, but when he's here, and they appreciate it, and they understand it, and there's a lot of respect that comes between your family and your business in that sense when you adopt that. That's just...
No, you're 100% right, absolutely. And my wife even jokes that she hopes that they never put Wi-Fi on an aeroplane, because the 2 hours to Cape Town or the 1 hour to Durban is the only time where I don't have access to speaking to anybody and knowing what's going on, and I have to speak to them. But yeah, no, look, you're right. There's a fine balance, and unfortunately, there's no easy way to make money these days. There's no easy route around getting to the top. There's no easy way around making a success of whatever you're doing. If you're not prepared to put in the work 7 days a week and have a no failure option, you're not going to make it. It's hard work.
So treat your business as a no failure option. Don't
no failure. There is no option for failure. And a lot of people like to say, yeah, I've got this business idea and I'm going to do this business and I'm going to get these staff and I'm going to let these staff to do it for me and they're going to sit at the back and relax and while everyone does it for you. It never works like that. You're going to do it yourself. You're going to do the hard work yourself. You're going to take the punches on the chin yourself, and you're going to have your team as a support. But they're not going to make it happen for you.
I think there's hard work and there's smart work, but to get to smart work, you have to go through the hard work first. Because if you don't understand what's happening in your business or understand how your business needs to operate, it doesn't matter who you are, you just run among of you.
Absolutely. And believe me, even there's some clients that I've met that they test you. There's some clients in security, and I'm not saying I'm the be-all and end-all of security, but there's very little that people can teach me about security today because of the knowledge that I've gained and the experiences that I've had. There's some clients today that I go to and they test your knowledge. They try and show you they know more about security than you do. And if you get muddled up on your words, that guy's not going to trust you. You've got to know what you're talking about. You've got to be confident.
Another thing that I like about your guys' journey is you came at a time when there was very well-known security companies in a lot of areas. Yeah. And you can name them Chubb, ADT. They were prevalent in those years. And you came into an industry that a lot of people put trust into, bigger companies, and smaller firms were not, security companies were not as well known or as well recognized in the community. I think now it's changed.
Yeah.
I think now the security industry is, if you have a community patrol, guys are more likely to sign up to a community patrolling security company than to sign up with a larger company. And I think you can see that a lot of these larger companies are actually changing their models of shutting down or selling to somebody else and stuff like that. Because community policing is, I think, a lot more responsive, a lot more proactive in the areas and stuff, and you have a much quicker response. And this is another thing I want to ask you. As a security company, you generally the first line of response. Because if a guy's house gets broken into, it doesn't go to SCPS, it goes to you. So the first responder, I would say 95% of the time, is you guys. I mean, unless it's a different situation or how does that? Do you think that's a weighty part of your business in terms of the pressure it puts on you guys? Number one, and number two, the link between your security business and how you respond to relaying that to the SAPS, for example. How is that process?
So it does. Just touching back on the big corporates versus us in terms of where we placed ourselves. I think a big driving factor there is that, and I've sold the concept of the business to the community in the basis that if you have a problem, you're not phoning a call center, you're not phoning the area manager, you're not phoning some guy at the office in the admin or the finance department. If you need answers, you phone me. You got my number. And people appreciate that because they don't have to go through all the channels and listen to voice prompts and this area manager, he's going to phone you back and he'll come back and next month he's left and there's a new area manager. So having the direct access to me and building that reputation has grown the business for me phenomenally. But yes, in terms of house robberies or things like that, we are generally the first people that get there. Actually, we are the first people that get there. Normally, we arrive, we assess the situation, we find out what's happened. If there's lookouts or if we get an arrest or whatever it might be, the next call is to the area police station. And we've got very good relationships with the police stations in the areas in which we operate, be it Fairlands, Sophia Town, Linden, Parkview, Brixton, whichever one it might be. We've got key people there that we've built relationships with that, when we stand down on a scene, we'll log the call with 10-111, our control room will log it, we'll get the ION number, which is the incident report number, but they don't always come quickly. So the next phone call is one of us will pick up the phone and say, hey, so-and-so, we need help here, we've got a house robbery, it's in the area, can you send a van? And we get the van sent out. We work very closely with the police, we've got good contacts with the police, we've got good contacts with a lot of the members, and that also speeds up the process of handling the scene.
No, I think relationships is something you've highlighted. Whether it's from both ends of your business, from the customer point of view and from whatever happens in the back end. The key part to having a successful business in your instance and in many instances, whoever is building a business, is relationships. And be in a trust in that relationship. It's not just, I know this guy. It is a relationship because you trust each other. You have respect for one another. Building a brand, building a product, it's all there. Profit is there, all of that is there. But to build a business that's going to build either generational wealth or withstand the test of time is built, I feel, on relationships and trust in, integrity, honesty, all those principles. And you can see your business is a clear reflection of that. I mean, whether it's to the customer or in the back end to the SAPS, and you build relationships so you have access to information and to resources a lot better and a lot faster than maybe somebody else in the industry. Working with competition, do you see, there's a lot of now other security companies, some that have come into the area we've seen and stuff like that. Do you take competition as it's me and them, or are you take the approach of let's work together?
So there's two types of competition, and I'm always I'm an advocate for competition. I think competition is good.
Competition is good.
Competition is good because it keeps everybody on their toes. But there's two types of competition. There's competition that's on an equal playing field, and there's competition that is not. And what I mean by that is, if we look at let's use ADT as an example. ADT is a compliant security company in the industry. They conform to all the statutory bodies that we have to conform to in terms of Provident Fund, Medical Aid, CIRA, the National Bargaining Council, the minimum rates that have to be paid in terms of the guards grade. They are compliant to that. So they would be perceived as good competition for me. whereas we have a lot of companies that are springing up all over the place now, and guys are branding their GTRs and their BMWs and whatever else as security response companies, and they're employing security people that are not South African. You cannot have a non-South African representing themselves as a security guard. They are employing people that are not CIRA registered, they're not contributing towards Provident Fund, they're not contributing towards the medical aid, they don't even have workman's compensation, let alone UIF. So they're coming in at half the price, but they're actually putting the community and that client at risk, because A, the guard that got working for him is probably not even his real name. B, if that guard gets killed or shot, the UIF or workman's comp claims he can't do that. C, he's got no provident fund. B, he's not covered by medical. So do you really think that guard is going to put his life on the line for you? Not going to happen. So there's good competition, and then there's competition that is not good because they're not compliant and we're not on the same field. I'm all for competition if we're on the same field, because it keeps everybody on their toes.
Talking about competition on the same field, there's the concept of if you have a Coke vending machine, right, and it makes a certain number of sales, it makes 100 units of sales a day, and then you put a Pepsi machine, and I ask you, what do you think, what would happen to the sales of the Coke machine? Most people will tell you to go down because people will buy Pepsi. But the concept of good competition means, and another aspect of it is, it's also a psychological aspect of it is, Coke sales go up and Pepsi goes up, because then it has become a choice of whether you want Coke or you don't want a Coke. It becomes whether you want a Coke or Pepsi. So that's a psychological. But it also relates into good competition. We are having good competition. It drives both businesses and brands to push beyond, the way they are. And to be truly honest, Clive, when it comes to being on the equal playing field, I don't think anybody's at SCP's level. If you guys run emergency, you guys run a fire engine, this is maybe a handful of security companies that can even do that.
Yeah. So that's exactly why you've got to, as a person that is building a business, you've got to be constantly thinking out of the box. You've got to have a vision that continually adds more value to your service, but doesn't kill the price that you have to offer it to your customers. Listen, competition. If there wasn't competition for me, it would be a very boring sector that I'm in, because I'd have a lot more weight on my shoulders. I couldn't share the risk with other security companies. I wouldn't have the relationships I've got with a lot of the security companies, and a lot of competition. I've got good relationships with them. The reaction officers on the road, they know me. We chat, we sit, we talk. We don't hate each other. It's not like that.
Comes down to building community.
Yeah.
I mean, in the business world, I mean, you build community in the community in the area. You build community within SCPs and stuff like that. That's it. But within the competition, you build community between them as well. And by building community and working together with healthy competition, you don't only benefit you, it benefits everybody around.
Correct.
And people take to that. So people will sign with SCP, because if there's another guy there, they're not going to make a problem, or it's not going to be like the guy's not going to say, hey, I'm not in a situation. If there is a situation where SCP is part of the community, so if it helps the community be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing we come into just to touch on, because I think by the time this thing comes out, it will be closer to the festive season and stuff like that. Just some precautionary, guidelines that people can take, that you notice. Some of the things you pick up over the years. I mean, you've been in the industry for over 15 years. There's a lot of smaller things you pick up, over the festive seasons and stuff like that. What are the precautions guys can take, and what to look out for,
So there's a couple of points that I always sell security to people on the basis of, if your alarm goes off once they've kicked your front door down, it's too late. You've got to catch them at the gate. So you've got to become as unattractive as possible for them if they decide your house is the choice of the day, because there's very few houses or robberies that are now, or house breakings that are now planned, and they would spend weeks planning it. There's very few. Normally, and when I say normally, 98% of the time, it's a random choice in the day. Your house just looked attractive and they gave it a go. So I always say, make it as unattractive as possible from the gate. And there's three things that you can do, first off, which would probably reduce your chance of becoming a statistic of crime immediately by 90%. And that is, number one, have a proper working electric fence. Number two, make sure that your gate cannot be lifted, because that's the number one access or entry when it's a house breaking, lifting a gate off the rail. And number three, have a gate alarm on your gate. So if they do lift your gate and they do manage to open the gate, that the alarm triggers while they are at the gate. A fourth one for some people, and not everybody shares this with me, but I mean, I've seen it time and time and time again. If you've got an electric fence and you've got the anti-lifts on your gate that they can't lift your gate, but you have a pedestrian gate in your gate, that's the next option they take. They take a crowbar, they put it in the pedestrian gate, and they just jimmy the lock open, and that's how they gain entry through the pedestrian gate. So I hate pedestrian gates. I always recommend to people, if you've got a pedestrian gate, weld it closed. Just make sure they can't lift your gate. If they can't lift your gate, they can't climb over your gate, and there's a gate alarm on your gate, I'm willing to say 95% they won't hit your house.
They look for obviously the easiest.
They look for the easiest route.
Every layer of security is a barrier to them, which they're not going to risk if somebody else doesn't have it. Yeah.
Correct. I've got them on camera already at some of my clients where the client thought he had an anti-lift on his gate, but he didn't. And the suspects went there, they lifted the gate, but the gate alarm triggered. And as the gate is lifted, the gate alarm triggers, they all jump back in their car and they run away. So I've got them on camera. It works. If I drive around Northcliffe, for instance, and I've said it at many, many meetings, I'm confident to touch 70% of the electric fences in Northcliffe, because I can tell you 70% of them don't work. I'm confident to go and touch them. If I'm confident to go and touch 70% of the electric fences that are out there, it tells me that 70% of the people still don't want to spend money on securing their entrance, which means that the gates can probably be lifted. The electric fence doesn't work. They become an easy target because once they're in the gate and they're in the driveway, they kick the front door down. 90% of the front doors are wooden front doors. With one kick, it's in, and the guys are in and out in 40 seconds. I've got them on camera hitting a house in Northcliffe where they kicked the front door in, the maid was at home, and they were in and out with a TV and jewelry and a cell phone within 40 seconds. So the time is of the essence. You can have any security company saying we've got a maximum 4-minute response time. 4 minutes with these guys, they're long gone. You've got to get them at the gate. The alarm's got to trigger at your main gate. If you get them there, either they're going to abandon their trick or we're going to catch them.
I think that when they hit your gate and you hear the alarm, they already slow down.
Exactly. They know the alarm's already triggered, which means they haven't even kicked your front door in. The security company's on the way. They haven't got time. Abandon.
And look, the festive season is a time where a lot of people go holidays, and so some houses are empty and stuff. So they will most likely, try and take a chance. Do you think that maybe leaving a house light on or having a day-night switch on your outside lights just to make look like people like
definitely?
The house
if you're going away, even if you leave a light on outside, that's fine. But have somebody, one of your family members or a friend, just come into the house every day, just walk around and leave. So there's movement. That's why one of the things that we're born out of adding value into our service offering, and it's very, very popular in December, January, is we offer a pet feeding service. And what that creates is actually a bit of a jewel effect on your home when you're not there. Number one, you've got dogs or cats or fish, we feed fish, we feed snakes, we feed cats, we feed dogs, we feed whatever. We even give them medication. Some of these dogs are more medication than I'm on. But it's something that when people are going away, they don't have to now take their pets to the kennel. They don't have to find someone to look after their pets. They don't have to take their pets with them. We charge 57 Rand a day. We come in, we feed the dog, we clean the water, we play with the dog for 10-15 minutes. While we're busy playing with the dog, entertaining the dog, we do a walk around your property. We check the windows are closed, we check the gates are locked, we check your front door's still in order. And it's senior guys that do this for us. Every time that we come to your house, we photograph all the way around your house. So we've got photos of the day we were there, photos of your pets, photos of the clean water, photos of the food. And I mean, that adds, for $57, that adds that, A, there's somebody at your house, B, it's a security person, he's inside. C, your dogs are getting entertained, or your cats, or whatever it might be. And we've got photos of every day while you're away. It's worth every cent.
57 rand.
So you go for 10 days. We charge you 570 rand. And you've basically had a private security company check your house, take photos, feed your dogs.
No pet care facility will charge you that.
Exactly. No
And the
pet care
best part
facility.
is your animal or your pet is in their own comfort.
Absolutely.
So
And he's not lonely. He knows that he's going to see somebody every day. Someone's going to be there. In December or January, we're feeding up to, we're doing pet feeding for up to 70 houses a day.
Sure.
That we're doing. Yeah.
It's probably a whole operation of its own.
It is. It's a whole team on its own. It does that. So it's something that people must consider.
In over the past few years, we've seen a rise in high-profile kidnappings and stuff like that. You have a private security sector. Have you seen that that side of your business growing?
I haven't seen that side of my business grow because, touch wood, it hasn't been a prominent risk in our areas as yet. I know that Lawley is a hotspot. I know that it happens a lot. It's predominantly happening amongst Muslim men, business owners, shop owners. They're the guys that are getting targeted. And they're getting targeted by various groups. The scary thing is with these guys and also the Chinese, the scary thing about it is that the guys that are doing the kidnappings, they already know who they're going to kidnap before they even do it. They already know what that guy's potentially worth. They already know that they can get money out of him. Let's assume he's worth 10 million. They're not going to go and ask for something like 20 million. They're going to ask for a figure that they know they can get. But they've taken it to one step further, and that is, now when they're doing the kidnappings, they're actually not making contact for a week. They're making the family desperate. So that when they do make contact, they know that the money's coming like this, and they're getting paid. And this was one of the things that I've been talking about for 2 years. We still have our cash in transits, and there's still shootings and bombings and all of that. But what scares me is that cash in transits for me and shootings and armed robberies, those are going to become a thing of the past. They're going to focus on kidnappings, because kidnappings, there's no bullets fired, there's no explosions, there's no big scene. It's a take and go. And it merely then becomes a transaction to get your loved one back. And that's what's scary.
Like I drive, if you go to Sainton and stuff, you see a lot of it, especially in those areas, guys driving with private security, or you're walking in a mall, you'll see.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking, in our areas, or in general, I'm sure private security it's not linked to a certain area if you're offering that service.
Yeah.
It's just something I've noticed, so I wanted to discuss it a bit with you, because you see it, especially like if you go into those areas.
Look, I do
drive around there, you see a guy driving, you see a security car behind him. But I've noticed also there's a lot of guys that walk around with I would say unmarked security.
Yeah. So
I've noticed that one day I was sitting and I was observing in a mall, and I was observing a situation, and you realize that this person was walking, and there was somebody. I observed it because I could see somebody in the distance walking, along the way, and they did something, and then you could realize, okay, you know what, this is a security personnel for that particular person. But if you weren't observing it,
you wouldn't pick it up.
You wouldn't have picked it up.
So I do have quite a few high-profile clients, executives, CEOs of businesses, CEOs of banks, CEOs of medical aids and that sort of thing, where there are high risks. And we do have exactly what you're saying. We call them CPOs, which are close protection officers. They're plain clothed. You wouldn't notice them. They strategically around the client. When the client goes to the shop, they're there. They always have the client in view. They go to restaurants, they will not sit at the client's table, but they'll sit at another table away where they can get an observation of the client and what's going on around them. That is quite a big portion of our business as well. We do look after a few people like that. And we've got a specialized team of guys that operate on that basis. Most of them permanently employed for that client. Our CPOs even go on holiday with them. If they go on holiday, they go on holiday with him. They essentially become a part of the family. And for some people, and I get a lot of people phoning me and saying, yeah, we'd like a CPO, we'd like somebody that do bodyguarding for my wife or for my kids or whatever it might be. And the first thing I always say to people is, it sounds nice, but remember, with a CPO, you're bringing somebody into your family that's going to become a part of your family. There's no more having that private time of going to a shop, no more having private time of going on holiday, no more private time of not being watched, because you're employing somebody who's going to be watching you 24 hours a day. So yes, when you're sleeping, obviously he's not watching you sleeping, but you're at home, he's at home with you. You go to the shops, he's driving you to the shops. You walk around the shops, he's there. You're going for a coffee date with your friend, he's there. So it sounds good, and people like the concept of a CPO, but I can tell you right now, there's very few people that can actually maintain it, because it's an invasion of your privacy. You've got somebody monitoring you.
I'm sure they have a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah, that's for another day.
Thanks, Clive. Thanks
Pleasure.
for your time.
No problem.
Having you. I really enjoyed the conversation we had.
Appreciate the interview.
All the best in the future.
Thank you. I hope I can inspire people to become entrepreneurs and to take the risk that I took, but make sure it's calculated.
No,
Don't take stupid risks.
Calculate it. I mean, look, there's risk in everything you do.
Yeah.
But calculate it. Now you have a plan here. Like you say, you had a plan and you stuck to your plan. And as time goes on, I think things change, but you adapted.
Yeah.
And that's why you've outgrown a lot of other security companies as well that have been in the industry or come and go on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because you adapt to your environment, your surroundings. And SCP is a brand, it's a security company, it's a brand. SCP is, as much as it's a security company you provide, it's a brand, it's your brand. And by growing your brand, you've created longevity in your business. I mean, like you say, you now have the EMS, you have the fire brigade, you've gone into private security. You've grown over the years, you've added different layers. You do the pet services.
Yeah.
You've added the different layers which have separated you, I think, from a lot of the competition that's around.
Correct.
And in any business, you start at one point, but you got to have a greater vision in mind. If you don't have the big vision in mind and take the smallest step to the big vision, I don't think you'll ever grow your business the way you want to.
100%.
All right, thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks for taking the time.
Bye.